So we're all pretty familiar with a basic hem on a pair of pants, which usually means that you are going to shorten them by turning them up, using the same fabric. But occasionally, pants, maybe like these bell bottoms that I'm talking about today. So I don't know that you would call them bell bottoms, depends on what era you were raised in, what era you were born in, but they are definitely wider as you go down. And so the interesting thing about them is that they were hemmed using a facing. And the reason for that is because if you think about if you were to just fold them up, that the bottom of the very, very bottom is going to be wider than the place that you're going to fold them up to. So then the hem is not going to look as flat. The best way to hem these would be to follow the original practice of using the facing. So I'm just going to take you briefly through that process. So you'll notice that I did iron them there exactly where I want my finished edge to be. Now, literally going to take a seam ripper or a razor, whichever one you prefer, any kind of seam ripping tool, and remove the entirety of this facing. So I'm just speeding this up a little bit because no one needs to sit here and watch me remove the entire thing. But as you just go around, same thing, just keep seam ripping all the way around. And when you're done, you're actually going to get a piece of facing like this. And then I go ahead and pluck out all of those extra thread pieces that are in there from the seam. Just clean that seam up, which is something that I always do if I've had to do seam ripping, because you don't want all those loose threads in your new seam. So now you can see my ironed crease for the bottom of the leg, but I'm just going to measure up for my seam allowance, because applying the facing will need seam allowance, and that very final crease is what needs to be the bottom of the pant leg. So I don't want to cut there. Instead, I need to cut 1/2 inch above the crease. So just go ahead and cut all the way around to completely remove all of the extra fabric that you won't be needing. So now I can reattach the facing, and I match the side seam and then match the crease line. So my original iron hem or ironed edge on the pant leg where I'm altering it, and then you'll see the fold line on the facing that was pre-existing. Now, one thing to be aware of is that the facing is now going to be wider than the actual pant leg, and that is because we shorten them. And so as pants taper down, because they do have this kind of bell bottom shape, if we're shortening them by about 2 inches, which is what this alteration is, then notice that 2 inches higher than the original hem means that it's narrower. And that means that I have to go ahead and take the facing over and stitch down to alter the size of the facing. So that's just what I'm doing here, is I'm just altering the facing. I've already mostly pinned it so that I had a good idea of exactly how much I needed to take off. I'm just going to go ahead and sew that and then cut away the extra. And then I can finish pinning down the facing. Now I'm ready to take them over to the machine to attach that facing to the pant leg. And I literally stitch in the ditch, so to speak, if I'm stitching right in that crease line where the original hem was in these pants. I just like to remember that not everyone does it the same way, which doesn't mean that one way is right or wrong. But as long as we're getting to the same goal of making the pants look the way that they were meant to look when they were made. Now that the facing is done, I can turn it up and take it over to the iron to really get a nice clean finish on that. So we're just trying to iron it really flat so that it has a really even finish line. You don't want the facing to be peeking out from the top. And then I'm just going to do a top stitch on the machine, and you'll get this finished look when you're all done.
Thank you for watching. You can shop tutorials and classes on my website, naomifeda.net. Be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, may God sow his love into your heart today.